Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thrive, Not Just Survive. I'm your host, Nasira Jamal. Want to wish you a happy Thursday. Today, as you notice on the banner that I've got, are you dieting and it's not working? I have talked to so many people over, I would say, the last few years, where perhaps it's my age group and people are talking about weight loss and they're doing different fad diets and joining different groups and trying to sort of get their weight back in check. And today's guest, Joan, is going to walk us through this whole idea about dieting and why it doesn't work, and what her genius is to help people connect back to their body and have that deeper level of acceptance. So this conversation is really important, especially as women. We get into sometimes this mindset of not being happy, and we have emotional eaters out there, and we can have stress eaters where different things can create for us the ability to not really take notice of how we're eating and how we relate to food. So let me bring Joan on, because I can't wait to get this conversation started. She's going to share with us some amazing tips and tricks, as well as what started her journey on this. So let's bring her on and get this started. Hey, Joan, welcome to the show. I'm so grateful that you're here today.
Thank you, Nasira, for having me. I'm just delighted to be here.
Awesome. So before we start, because this topic is, I think it's pretty huge, and especially in women that are over 40, let's just say, right? Because different hormonal things happen, and we want to talk about this idea of having a good relationship with body and food. But before we do that, I want to ask you sort of, what was your framework in your life of how you got to doing what you're doing?
Oh, well, I'm happy to tell you. Let's see, where should I start? I've been dieting since I was 10, and probably even before that. And so it took me years, because I'm now in my 60s, early 60s. It took me years to figure out that I didn't want to continue dieting and being obsessive with food, overeating, binging, all those kinds of things. It took a tragedy in our family, in which my brother had been murdered, and with a trauma like that, you don't waste it. You go back and you look at your life and you reevaluate and you think about where you've been and where you want to go and all those kinds of things. And I decided that I would take a look at all of that, and came up with the idea that I'd been dieting since I was 10, and Nasira, only twice in my life had I reached a goal weight. And both of those times, they lasted probably 3 minutes. And then I was back up to a body weight that was higher and sometimes much higher. And so I did the whole dieting thing, and I realized because of that I had to stop. I'd spent, decades worrying about my weight, worrying about my body, dieting excessively, exercising excessively during periods. The first time I lost weight, I was 19, and I got there by binging and purging. So I believe that I had an eating disorder, but of course I didn't talk about it with anybody. It was very personal and private. And as many women we don't talk about those things. We don't talk about the heartache and the dissatisfaction that we've had for so many years about our bodies, and the way that we go about trying to fit into society's standard of petite and tiny and small and all those kinds of things. And in the process, then we lose who we are, and we lose our voice, and we step out of our power. And so that's how I came to deciding that I would work with women to help them get off that diet roller coaster, come home to their bodies, and really look at how they could live their lives in such a better way.
That's, what, I think that's the thing though, right? It's your own challenges or the mess that you've been through that brings you to this place of really finding a way to help others because of your journey and how you figured it out. And now it's more about helping others shorten that learning curve, because they don't have to go through all of that, right? And right. I love that, that you share this, because it's important for people to have this connection with who they are. It's on
Mhm.
so many levels, right? And to almost sort of live on you wish you had that body to live outside of you and always in chase of that, you lose that moment of who you are now and that true connection, right, of your own beauty and your own beyond the physical,
Right.
that person who you are. So I love it because I think this is the journey, this is the transformation. And
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people that are looking for this. So let's talk a little bit about how do you help people or women? I guess your group is women,
Mhm.
right? First of all,
Mhm.
tell me, is there an age group that you sort of focus on? Do you find or you attract a certain age group?
I have been attracting women who are sort of 40 plus. And love working with them. You know, they've had some life experience, and they're most often at the stage where they feel that they've done enough of this craziness with dieting, um, and you know, they want something better. They want something that's more authentic, right? As we age, we get into that, you know, who are we? And our, you know, our children are leaving. If we have children, you know, we're heading into retirement. And that's part of what happened for me with coaching was I'm a registered social worker, but I wanted to formalize coaching and be able to work with women in this area. So I stepped away from counseling and started coaching, but I sort of combined the two a little bit. I I do more coaching than counseling, but I have that experience. Um, yeah, so you know, it's a beautiful process to be able to work with someone and see the shifts and changes to get them to first of all um, recognize what diet culture does and how it impacts us on a physical, emotional, and soulful level. That constantly striving to be something or somebody that you're not, that your body may never be. You know, the weight that I wanted to be at was an unrealistic weight for my body type, for my height, for my genetics, because we all have genetics that play a factor in our bodies and all of that. And the biggest thing for me was the emotional eating, having not recognizing when I'm stressed and then going to food. And I learned at a really young age, and I think most of us do. And in fact, the women I work with, most of them, they learn to use food to soothe anxiety, stress, any kind of depression from a young age, or throughout their teen years, particularly. You know, when body image is a really big thing, right? And if you're not tiny and petite, and even if you are tiny and petite, and you fit into our culture's sort of um, body type that we think is absolutely beautiful and attractive, we're not happy even then.
Right.
Why? Because we're set up with trying to reach a goal, an external goal, that isn't ours. And so then we lose that authenticity within us. We lose our ability to connect with our own bodies when we're dieting excessively or over a period of years. We get cut off at the neck and everything is up here. And so part of what I do is help women reconnect with their bodies, reconnect with their hunger signals and their satiety signals within their body, which, you know, I joined many times one of the largest weight loss programs in Canada and the world. And, you know, it got to the point where I was eating on a schedule and didn't know how my body felt when I was really hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I help women reconnect with that body signal, reconnect with their heart, reconnect with how to be compassionate with themselves when they look at themselves in the mirror and they're not happy with what they see. And yet that's the body that they've got. And, you know, we've only got one, right?
Right.
We've only got one chance at this life in this body. So why not learn to at least, if you can't love your body, why not learn to at least feel neutral about it and look after it,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Because I also think, I mean, obviously, right? Like when you have this kind of image about yourself or the self-talk that's going on, it really plays on happiness in all areas of life. So now you can carry this right into your relationships and your work, and it really kind of finds its way everywhere. And then you're not happy in anything, right? And I love the fact that, you know, it's connecting with that heart space and being graceful with yourself and compassionate. And like you said, we only have one chance at this. And why not make it a good one, right? Like we have control over that. We can't control a lot of the things outside of us, but we can definitely control our mindsets and our heart sets of how we feel about ourselves. Because the other thing, you know, I've not had any kind of, I've not dieted in my sort of growing up, right? But now over 40, I do notice that my body has changed and my weight has shifted in different areas, right? And though that's not been a huge challenge for me, I know it plays on my head when my pants don't fit me just exactly as they did a year ago or something, right? So it's all of these things that kind of pop up that we have to really figure out and fix, because it will go into other areas of our life, as I said. So I love what you're doing. I think this is so important, you know, as we take this next part of our journey, 40 plus, and find ourselves again, because I think somewhere along the way, we lost our way, right? So tell me, how do you work with the groups? Like, is it one-on-one? Is it group? Like, what is it that you do that really helps your tribe?
So I do work with one-on-one with women, and I do. I have a small group that I'm actually going to be starting in September, at the end of September. It's a 5-day free program that women can join, and it's called "Join the Journey to a Healthy Body Image." Your 5-day free complimentary kickstart program, which then leads into a larger program that goes into more depth about how do you manage emotional eating, obsessing about food, obsessing about exercise, yo-yo dieting, all those kinds of things. So I work with both.
Okay. So the challenge, the 5-day challenge is coming up, you said end of September?
End of September, last week in September. Yeah.
Okay. And is there,
it's exciting.
Yes, that sounds really cool. Now, is that something that the audience or whoever's listening can sign up for it? Is there a link or not yet? How can they find out more about it?
Yeah, so if you just connect with me, and then of course I'll need your email address, and you get to join our Facebook group, which is a private Facebook group called Join the Journey. For the 5-day challenge, we'll have a separate Facebook group. And so once you're in Join the Journey, which is my regular sort of private Facebook group, then we'll have a separate one for the body image workshops or 5-day program. And so we'll just shift you into there. I'm really excited about it, because I think, you know, with a 5-day program, there's only so much you can do. But I'm really excited because I'm going to really dive as deeply as I can within the 5 days to really be helpful to women, even if, you know, we don't work together after that, that they can start to think more about how to reconnect with their bodies, and how to start dealing with the emotional eating part of what they're doing. And part of that is awareness, and part of it is, you know, as I said, reconnecting with your body, and I go through some of that as well. I use a number of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think the idea that you walk them through, you know, even on a 5-day, just to start, right, I think is great, because it allows them to sort of have more of an introspection of their life, right? And I think that's a good way to start if this is the beginning of their journey.
Right. And I think, you know, there's lots of tools that I have in my toolbox. And I think it's really important for us as women to have those tools in order to stop the emotional eating that we do. And I want to be clear, emotional eating isn't bad in and of itself. It's a gift in a way. And so there are two sort of parts to emotional eating. One is, you know, we as human beings, we do naturally eat emotionally. We have birthday parties and we celebrate with cake, or we have, you know, family dinners, and we eat when we're excited. And that's not a bad thing. Where it gets to be a problem, and where it gets to what I would consider to be uh, disordered eating, is when we look to food as the only source of our anxiety, stress, depression, those kinds of things. And so when we struggle with things like emotional eating, it is impacting our body, and because we can't stop the connection between our body and our head, even though we spend most of our time in our head. And so I think, having this body image program, free 5-day body image program, it'll get us started in thinking about where are you in terms of body image. You can't separate, in some ways, the kind of the disordered thinking, the disordered eating, the disordered body image that we have. And so I really want women to be able to at least start on that journey. And then if they need some help, then to find someone like me who can help them through the rest of that journey.
Yeah.
It's not a quick fix. It's not, this work is deep. This work is critical to our mental health. That's the other part that I think is so important. I spent years so focused on trying to be a particular size in my body. Focus, I wouldn't go out for dinner sometimes because I was so worried about eating too many calories or points. I didn't want to wear a bathing suit. I didn't wear a bathing suit with my kids. I missed out on so much with my kids because I wouldn't wear a bathing suit. I wouldn't go hiking because I couldn't wear shorts. All those things that we stop ourselves from doing. And so I really feel so passionate about this area and wanting women to be free from all of that. It's the freedom and the peace of heart, the peace within your soul that you can have when you address those issues. And I also have to say that often underlying emotional eating and body image issues are things like trauma and excessive stress that we haven't dealt with, and so we turn to food, right? Which then creates the
and then it becomes like a vicious cycle, right? Because you can't sort of get out of that viciousness. And
right.
I think it's almost like you have to take a reset, right? You just step back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you have a Facebook group that supports, because I think it's a community. You don't feel alone when you see someone else's story or someone else's journey. Then you don't feel like, oh, this is just me. I'm the only one going through it, right? And there's such a big thing when you're part of a community that is supporting and safe and kind and compassionate and graceful, that you begin to actually, for me anyways, it's like an uplifting feeling to be around others that can help you in your journey. Because really, that saying goes, and of course I'm probably going to get it wrong, but you can go far alone, but you'll go further with a tribe, with a group of people, right? Like, it just makes a better journey. And I love the fact that you have this group, because then women will feel safe within it.
Yeah, I think the Join the Journey, my sort of regular Facebook group is full of lovely women. We talk about health and wellness, and then, as I said, with the 5-day program, I'll be creating a Facebook group just for that small group of women who want to really dive into this whole area of disordered eating and emotional eating and body image issues.
And I think, again, right, like you kind of, you've absolutely identified a problem that needs solving. And for women that are looking at their own life, in terms of that notion of, is it emotional eating? Where is it coming from? How does it affect me in other areas of my life? These are all questions. It's almost like peeling back layers of an onion.
Yes.
To sort of get to the root, right? And I think that, of course, the COVID-19, I'll tell you, has brought about a lot of new awakenings for people, right? Like, they're looking at life differently, of what was really holding people back, right? The rat race, the keep up with the Joneses, all of those things, right? That you think is important has now been kind of brought down to say, really, what is it that truly makes you who you are and what makes you happy?
Exactly. And I know, I thought about this a lot actually over COVID because I worked from home. I just retired actually from my work position. And so it's great to be able to be in coaching full time. But I, would look at Instagram and on Facebook, and people would talk about the COVID weight gain that they struggled with, and they're concerned about it and worried about it. And our bodies are smart. Our bodies know that when we need to hunker down, then we're gonna eat more, right? We're gonna gravitate towards carbs. We're gonna gravitate towards foods that are comfort foods. That's a natural, normal thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, then there's the worry. Well, should I start a diet? Should I go on the keto diet? Should I do intermittent fasting? Should I do the Weight Watchers? Should I do whatever it is, right? And so people then get so stuck in that cycle again. And our bodies are smart. Our bodies know what weight is a natural weight for us, and it might not be the Weight Watchers weight. Right? It might not be what the keto diet can get us to and have. And I think the other thing that was huge for me and huge for women I work with is they lose the weight, but then they can't maintain it. And so then, they're continuing that cycle of hatred, shame, not feeling good about themselves. And so COVID has really helped, I think, in some ways, bring to light that, we need to be looking at how we can step into our bodies and value and appreciate what our bodies do for us. Our bodies are amazing, and they look after us, and we just need to be able to, both in our head and our heart and our soul, be able to look after our bodies.
Exactly. And I think there's that whole idea of, and I haven't done any studies on this or read anything, but I've heard that, our body will hold on to things if in the fear, right, of losing something, when we misfeed it information, right, of, I don't like the weight I'm in, I don't like how I'm feeling or how I look or how other people perceive me to be, right? And then we see all of the social media of the perfect model and the perfect diet, and somebody lost 30 pounds, and then you follow that, rat race, and then you go here because somebody else says this works, and you're really not finding out what works for you. Your body's different, your genetics are different. Like you mentioned, we have different makeup, right? Every body is different, and we need to really connect to that. So I think it's brilliant, the work that you're doing. And again, like, I think, it brings about not just a body image, but also happiness in other areas of one's life.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So I'm excited for your challenge, which is coming at the end of September. Is there anything, as we kind of put this interview together, just tie everything up, is there any words of wisdom you would give to somebody who's looking at this and saying they really want to take control? They want to kind of figure out where to begin. What would you say to someone?
I would say do it. Figure it out, work with somebody. It's really difficult. And I can attest to this because I've done both. I've worked with a coach and also worked on my own to become sort of more intuitive in my eating and my living, and address the traumas that I've experienced over time, and the stress and the anxiety, and being able to understand and recognize when I'm stressed and then I eat. Those kinds of things. So I would say do it. Just, step into it, because life is too short. Life is too short. And, if you've spent years, decades worrying about your weight and worrying about your body and not being happy within yourself, that's a long time. And, don't spend the rest of your life trying to figure this out, and spending your life on that diet roller coaster. It's just not worth it. And I can tell you that from having now stepped away from it for a number of years. And I'm at the point now where I can have chocolate, I can have cookies, I can have whatever the trigger foods that I used to be triggered by. They're in my house. I have some when I feel like it, when I want it. I connect with my body to know when I'm hungry, when I'm full. Do I overeat sometimes? Yeah. When I'm at a party or when I'm, having that piece of cake and I just had dinner, but my body is so much happier. And your body will know when you are loving it, when you're valuing it, when you're appreciating it, or at least getting to a neutral point with it where you can just still take care of it.
It is our temple, right? So this is where you said pre-interview, you got to take care of that body because it's the only one we have. And I love the wisdom that you share. I do want to say just one thing before we end, that in this journey, and I'm a sales coach, so for people that really want transformation, when you're doing it by yourself, it's very difficult. But when you have a coach or an accountability partner that's going to take that journey with you, this is where you make really big strides.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage people that are listening to this, if they're live or on replay, is to really consider how much of a transformation are they looking for and connect with somebody who can help them get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It's just not worth spending the rest of your life worrying about the rolls on your tummy, the cellulite on your legs. We all have them. Even the slimmest person in the world has a little roll, right?
Yes, and it's okay. And it's okay, right?
It's okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I again, I want to encourage everybody that's listening, if they want to connect with you, to go to your website. There's a contact me button there. Connect with you on Facebook. Can you just repeat the name of your Facebook group so that we can note that?
So it's a private Facebook group. It's Join the Journey. You have to connect with me. So you can connect with me on Messenger as well as Facebook, and my business page, and then also at my website, which you've got up there.
Okay.
So there's those ways to connect with me, and I'm happy to chat with anybody who wants to even explore this. I mean, it's a big leap. It's a big shift. Into a completely different state of mind and body. And it's not for the faint of heart, but I gotta tell you, it's amazing when you get there.
When you get to the other side, I think that's where freedom lies, right? And it's the fear that stops us from taking that leap, because our body, our mindset holds us back because of the fear of the unknown, whereas really everything is beyond that. And there's freedom there. And like you said, like, the journey of just going there is so profound. And then living that life with joy and happiness and contentment is really the end result that we're all looking for.
Exactly. So I'm happy to chat and just explore with you. With any of your listeners who are interested, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I'm going to tie this up, but I'll welcome you anytime back to the show to share your wisdom, to share this kind of work that you're doing, because I do feel it's really an important one. So I want to thank you, and I want to wish you a wonderful, blessed day.
Thank you so much, Nazira.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
So for those of you watching live, connect with Joan if you have any kind of questions that you might have around this topic that you may want help with, or just really figure out, what's really limiting you or holding you back. If you're watching on replay, hashtag replay, and reach out to either myself or Joan. Join the challenge, join her group so that you can find out more details about this challenge. What a nice way of getting to work with somebody who has taken this journey, done the work, and who can guide you in the process. So with that being said, I want to wish you a happy, wonderful Thursday. I'll see you again tomorrow with my guest, Cheryl Bryant-Bruce, when we will be continuing our conversation on Black Lives Matter and equality for all. So for that, for tomorrow, I'll see you at 10 a.m. And today I wish you much love. Remember to be kind to yourself and others.